Hello everyone. Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. It's January 4 and we would like to start once again in our second episode in our sunset moments dito sa ating Sirkutaylo. Medyo medyo nakakalungkot po sa ngayon dahil sa nagsisialisa na yung mga anak natin patungo sa kanilang mga bawat apartment, lugar kung saan tayo magbubukas na ulit ang kanilang mga kumpanya. Na? So balik trabaho na sila. Maybe sa Pilipinas din ganun rin siguro ang mga pangyayari at sa mga ibang bansa. Siguro natutunugan natin itong mga haya sa bagong Metro Manila Film Festival na kung saan ang Gumbursa ata ang medyo namamayagpag doon. So let's try to take a look also sa mga tinatawagin nating religious governance. Let's try to take a look on that particular history. Well, dito sa Japan, merong isang Filipino na naging lay missionary kasama yung mga Catholic priest na nung pumunta sila rito sa Japan, they were persecuted and are driven away from Japan. But Catholic priests are trying to seed up, to plant the Catholicism or Christianity in the nation of Japan. But instead of giving up their life of faith in Christianity, more with a lay worker, Filipino worker, a small young boy in the name of Pedro Calungsod. I think he was from Cebu, and he did not give up his faith in Christianity. So again, the samurai soldiers of Japan tried to ask him to relinquish his faith, his Christian faith. But then again, Pedro Calungsod never gave up his life of faith. That's why he was murdered, and that's it. It's one of a persecution done by the samurai soldiers in Japan against Christianity. So that could be in the 1950s, and that was, of course, after Philippines was Christianized. So evangelization of the gospel and Christianity in other nations was done also by the Christianized Filipinos, and they went also to Japan. But that is history by now. But nevertheless, Japan and the general Japanese people still go with their old Shintoism, Buddhism, faith, life of faith. Well, that's religious governance, and of course in the Philippines we have our constitution which has or emphasized the separation of the church and state. But there's just a little thing in these modern times that still religious governance is also or can be seen once again. But let's try to just go with the flow of history. It was just a very historical that Gumbursa, good film that was also shared to the Filipino people during the film festival, and it grabbed many prizes. But in the documentary of this Gumbursa, there are also about the friars the regular priests, the secular priests, and the division of this or classification of this kind of priests inside or within Catholicism, Catholic Church. So within Catholicism, there are also classifications. There is also a division among the church. And the three priests, Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora, have planted a very nice motivating thoughts to the people, the Filipino people, not only in Cavite, but also on other elites or genius intellectual Filipinos, just like Jose Rizal, as because of the Gumbur's story or history, then Jose Rizal was motivated to write the El Filibusterismo because of that, of what happened to the three priests, Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora. That's the seed of why Jose Rizal wrote this book, El Filibusterismo. But also, in those two books of Jose Rizal, one thing I cannot really forget is the Padre Damaso, the life of Padre Damaso, and which we know what really was the image of Padre Damaso, because still within the Catholic Church, there are still Padre Damaso, not only in the Philippines, but also in America or in other Christian nations. Even the Vatican is trying to solve these religious issues and cases, but still it cannot just be easily controlled, with the priests also having a struggle or struggles of self-discipline, more particularly about their clemency or in their purity, and on their vows not to have a wife or a partner in their life during their priesthood. Well, that was on the 18th century also, but we can also try to take a look on even Jose Rizal was also there was the issue of religious governance. There were religious persecutions that time, on why Jose Rizal tried to really work more or secretly, indirectly against these Spaniards. And it points to the Spanish rulers, where most of these Spanish rulers are Catholics and Christians. So, in that particular case, Philippines was still governed by this Christian elite. Now, also, on this present time, there are also issues about casting these political stories like Pastor Kiboloy, and he is known and being pointed out to be the owner of SMNI, and calling himself as the adopted son of Jesus, the second coming or adopted son of God. Then there is a color of religious identity. And when this issue came out from the two programs of SMNI, then the NTC was also pressured by the Congress, the lower house, to really have this suspension of the two programs. And the two programs were trying to talk more about this communism, the ideology, and the system of communism, Laban sa Bayan. But these are only two programs within that radio or TV station. But the NTC tried to, not try, but really suspend the entire station of SMNI. And that could be seen that people behind it are those non-believers of Christianity. That's the very logical thought about this suspension of this radio program owned by, or if not owned, but popularly also hosted or anchored by this Pastor Kibuloy, Pastor Dr. Kibuloy. So I could look at it as another religious persecution. But again, in our Constitution, there is a separation between church and state. And what is wrong when there is the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, the freedom of faith, if one will talk about, evangelize about their belief, ideologically, when they believe that there is God, the presence of the Creator, against those communism or people who practice communism, where their ideology does not accept nor believe on God, the Creator. So it is just very practical on that. That is persecution, as I look at it. Ito mga religious governance din ito, ano? And by the way, also here in Japan, medyo nakakabahala rin yung mga takbo rito. And that happened during this, or that time when the former Prime Minister Abe was assassinated. The hated crime or a hated killer, although he was captured, but the case was not focused to him, but to a religious group which was mentioned by the hate killer. And it does not point to many religious group, but it points to one religious group. And communist parties and people filed a case against this religious movement on this dissolution of the church, of the entire church in Japan. And for what reason? The assassination was done by a hate killer, not by a member of the particular religious group. But in the press, in the media, in the government, and in the legislative Congress in Japan, communists and Communist Party filed the case of dissolving the dissolution of the church. And now the case is there in the court. They are asked to have the charges, the penalty, pay those penalties, and have to fight against this dissolution case versus this communist party or people who believe in communism, an ideology which disregard or does not accept God, the Creator, and the beginning of this world. So this is, this refers also to the public and to the people, but governance. We take a look not only in the government, but also on the religious people and other religious group, because this is pointing not only to one, not only to Catholicism, not only to Christianity, but also it will be a gateway for other religious groups to also be seen in any simple way, that they can be closed, that they can be dissolved, and even though they will be evangelizing what they believe, then constitutionally, the rights of the people on their freedom of faith and religion could be unconstitutionally deprived. So, how do you call it? Maraming masasagasaan ng mga religions, kung talagang ibibigay nila or hindi lang susuruin, kundi they will point out that those religious groups and leaders are behind somebody else or some persons, groups, or party against it. But as a Christian nation, Philippines, naniniwala sa Diyos, dapat mangangampanya rin tayo laban sa mga grupong ito na hindi naniniwala sa pagkatao ni Jesucristo at sa existence ng ating poong Diyos na may kapal. Sino lamang ang talagang walang paniniwala rito sa ating Diyos? Wala nang iba, kundi ang mga, hindi lamang mga atheist, itong mga teroristang, mga hindi naniniwala sa Diyos, ang mga komunista, sila ang nagiging haligi. Sila ang siguradong haligi nitong mga ginagawa nilang pagtutulak na isara ang mga religious programs, ang mga simbahan, para lamang matikom ang bibig nila at hindi na sila makapag-iebanghelyo. What can you say about this? At bakit hindi kumikilos ang gobyerno laban dito sa mga paratang na talagang hindi naman talaga makatarungan? So, Kristiyanong Pilipino, Pilipinas, tayo laban sa ganitong mga paghahasik, hindi lamang dito sa Philippines, kahit na saang bansa, dito sa Japan, at kahit na rin sa mga ibang bansa na nagiging materialistiko na rin. Isa ito, ang materialism na pinaninindigan ng komunista. Communists do not believe on God, but they wave the flag of materialism. So, let's try to take a look also. Beware of this ideology. As an enemy, yes, we can embrace and hug the communist people, but ideologically, it is the enemy not only of the Christians, but also of the people who believe in God. Sukran.